Well, time has come to wrap up. Unfortunately, this conference is already over. On the other hand, maybe also fortunately, it's been a long day. So I think we've had enough for today, at least. I will try to wrap things up by saying a couple of things that are not all that controversial, something we can all agree on, and that are at the same time somewhat interesting. Right, so we'll have to balance between two things here. But a couple of things came to mind. So first, maybe uncontroversially, but importantly, I think much more philosophical work needs to be done on things like extremism and fanaticism and fundamentalism. I think that is something the conference has made clear. And Kasim Kassam has already done a great job, of course, by providing this book, but I think the book also points to many issues that deserve further scrutiny. Among other things, for instance, we've had this wonderful talk on echo chambers, but exactly how does that bear on extreme beliefs? Or you can take theories and concepts when it comes to disagreement or testimony, hermeneutical injustice, and the like. How do they all relate to the phenomena that we discussed? So much more work to be done there. I think particularly challenging, it turned out, was the normative dimensions when it comes to defining these terms. So to what extent is and has each of these terms to be normative? And what does that mean for using them in empirical research? At least we should be more explicit about the normative assumptions underlying them, but can we operationalize them? How does that work? Also, I think important is mapping the relations between these phenomena. We've done a bit of that today, mostly logical relations, but of course there are also all kinds of probability relations that you could also try to map based on empirical research. Fourth, there's also something that's become clear, I think, about the differences in the way people go about in seeking definitions or in mapping these terms. So I think it will be worthwhile to actually think about how we should go about defining these terms. So do we work with family resemblances? Do we seek necessary and sufficient conditions? Do we start from a single case or intuitions about a particular case or a wide variety of cases or a scoping review or general principles? But at least being explicit about those things, it turned out, is truly helpful. And finally, more work I think can be done and needs to be done about what the ramifications of all of this will be for the debate, for the public debate, the academic debate, and also for policy. And the good news is, of course, that this is only the first conference in a series. We plan to have at least 5 within, probably more than 5 actually, but at least 5 within this project. So more will follow. Closely related to that, before I make some practical closing remarks, so what you see here, let me say that straight away, is that more events are coming up even apart from the conferences. So this is, I think, the next one. On February 9th, a lecture by Jan Willem Proyen at this university on conspiracy theory. So we're following up. We haven't talked that much about conspiracy theory, so we will be covering that as well. And let me close, let's see. Let me close this screen and share another screen. This one. Right, can you see it? Yeah. So as I said, this is only the first in a series of 5 conferences, and I, with a lot of other people, have been thinking about what the right sort of venue would be to publish the results of a conference like this, and not just the results of the conference, but also results of the work beyond the conference. And one challenge that we faced here, I think, is that people working on extremism have their own journals. People working on conspiracy thinking have their slightly different set of journals. And similarly for terrorism and fundamentalism, fanaticism, radicalism, right? So it's all spread out like a diaspora. And then the problem is made even worse by the fact that some people use sociological methods and other methods from jurisprudence or from philosophy, right? And again, this is spread out. So it's doubly spread out over countless journals. So we thought, why not try to combine all this work? And that's why we came up with this idea of a book series. So, provisional title, The Extreme Beliefs Project. So, some of you have already heard about this. Of course, matches the title of the project. Proposal for a 7-volume series by a major international academic press. So it's currently under review by a major, I can't say too much about it, by a major international academic press. And thanks to many of you for providing input for this idea. So what I will do now is just sketch kind of the rough and provisional setup of the series, as it's currently under review. So a first volume would try to map the terrain as we did today. Of course, further pieces would be added to this volume to include further phenomena. I would edit them myself with John Horgan, so he's happily on board. He's not here today, but of course he contributed to the paper that Ruth and I presented with Jane Burger. Beatrice de Graaf gave a talk today, and we talked about a translation of the manuscript, which is almost ready. The plan is, if this all works out, to have that book published in a series, and I'm really glad that this is the plan. So, so pretty much basically 2 volumes in an early stage of reaching publication already. A third volume by Lauren Dawson, so he's written extensively on religiosity as an explanatory factor. So religiosity and other subjectivities, that's the basic idea. Explaining extreme belief and extreme behavior. Responsibility for extreme beliefs by Naomi and Chris. Understanding and explaining fundamentals. So here the idea would be, volume by me, on how to integrate the 2 perspectives. Something on extremism and subjectivity by Kasim Kassam and me. And then finally, resilience to extreme beliefs. So how can one make individuals and groups and communities resilient for or towards developing extreme beliefs. So even if extreme beliefs are developed at some point, how can the community or individuals bounce back from that? That's the basic idea, actually. So I just wanted to say this to for you to be updated, and also if you contributed to this workshop, please don't submit the paper somewhere else, because this is the plan and we would love to have those papers, of course, on board. And in case you have written a paper on some occasion that is related to any of these issues, please let me know, because I will be happy to consider the paper. Of course, it's still under review, but well, things are looking good so far. So that's the little bit of update about the idea for the series. 2 final things. The videos will be online soon, so we will share the messages via social media, and you can share them with others if you like to. And the final thing I would like to do is thank all of our speakers, so those in the room, but also those at home. Thanks so much for joining us. And I would also like to thank the organizers, so that is Finlay and Nora and Naomi and Chris and Iman, who is not here today, but she's probably done more work than anyone else with regard to all the practical details. So thanks so much, and hope to see you all again. Bye-bye.